One of the reasons why Mufiala, Rigathi Gachagua, went down is because people like this fellow. His name is NDEGWA NJIIRU. I'll talk both him, how he rose up out of nowhere. Some people call him impeachment lawyer. Before Kenyans knew the word impeachment, they did not know his name. But he is very much associated with impeachment. But anyway, I'll talk about that. But then I'll start by saying that NDEGWA NJIIRU, NDEGWA NJIIRU, in Kikuyu, NDEGWA means bull. Yeah. NDEGWA NJIIRU is a manifestation of the type of people that Mufiala, Rigathi Gachagua, surrounded himself with. Rigathi Gachagua is a mobilizer, naturally, having worked in the provincial administration and having been the personal assistant of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But then he mobilized people before the last general elections. He mobilized people, especially people from the mountain. But then he did something that I think has led to his befalling. If you check with my earlier video recordings, I said that the next president of Kenya will not be Gachagua. I even said that the sixth president of Kenya is somebody who was born in the 70s. I do not know which year Professor Kindiki was born. Is it 72 or 73? Somewhere there. But I mean, if he's going to be the next president, he falls within that age group. If you remember, I'd even said that I was placing people like Babu Owino. I was placing people like Didi Nyoro, that age group. Much later, I said I preferred Gladys Wanga. Later on, many years from today, I hope those close to the government will tell us why Gladys Wanga was not taken and why Kindiki was taken. But of course, if you watch my video where I've said the sixth president, Kindiki falls among that age group. I've also heard some people say that Kindiki's type of politics are the Kibaki type. Yes, Kenya has two types of politicians. We have the Raila type and the Kibaki type. If you look at the Kibaki type, the best example is Kindiki. The second best is Musalia Mudavadi. Kalonzo Musyoka I think is also on the podium. He's a very good Kibakist. These are the people who perform what we call gentleman's politics. These are the people who, if you study them, you'll come to believe that politics, after all, is not a dirty game. But when you look at the Raila type, Ruto is a Raila type. Rigathi is a Raila type. Mobilizer of mobs and and then there is a saying in Kiswahili that two fools can stay together for a very long time, but two clever people cannot stay together for a long time. The clever people I say are people like the Raila type. And you see, Ruto is a Raila type, and so is Rigathi, Raila type. A person who talks while knowing that he has mobilized people. But the Kibaki type The Kibaki type is kina Kindiki, kina Kalonzo Musyoka, kina Mudavadi. They don't mobilize people, but they mobilize ideas. So what happened was that the biggest problem that Rigathi did, and I speak as a Nyerian, I also speak as a Matherian, mtu wa Mathera, and I also speak as a Mathera West person from Kayaba village. The greatest problem that Rigathi Gachagua did was taking people like NDEGWA. It is good to study what Ruto did. It is good to do what Ruto did, because Ruto, if it was a question of impeachment, Ruto would have been impeached a long time ago. But Ruto had a background which he had taken long to establish, and Gachagua was trying to establish it very fast. Waswahili wanasema bahati ya mwenzio usilalie mlango wazi. So Rigathi wanted to use Ruto style. But you see, Ruto, in the long run, towards 2032, starting from 2029, Ruto is going to place everybody everybody in position who was born in the 70s. And you have seen he has started with the person. Now Rigathi for himself also to place a new crop of people. That is what I'm trying to say. That Ruto placed there a new crop of people, a new crop of leadership in Kenya. Rigathi wanted to place there a new crop of leadership in the mountain. Now, it is not that it is not that Rigathi differed with those leaders who are there, but he wanted to take people who he would just tell them, when nilikutoa kwa, the way he used to tell Uhuru, when nilikutoa kwa ba ukiwa mlevi. Then he started picking people, some of whom were his worst enemies before. Imagine your worst enemy today is November 1st. Imagine your worst enemy in October. Now you have reached November, you say, hiyo ni mambo ya November. He took people like Wambugu Njiiru, and he took people like NDEGWA the lawyer. NDEGWA the lawyer, there's a video circulating where somebody was interviewing NDEGWA the lawyer about Rigathi Gachagua. Now, when Rigathi Gachagua is vetting his people, can't he vet for such a simple and obvious things? Simple, obvious. This is somebody who was talking ill about him and whatever. But then it is also a problem with our leadership, because I saw it even during Kibaki's time, that some of us who suffered because of Kibaki, when Kibaki took over, we were far from him. And those people who were anti-Kibaki were now say, wachana na huyo tunamjua. In fact, wacha tu hata acha aende akae huko. So these politicians believe the person who shouts himself hoarse before you is the best person. Unfortunately, during the Kibaki's time, we did not have social media, or if there was social media, it was not at this level. This NDEGWA had talked really bad about that. But then he has proven in one stroke that lawyers, especially those in Kenya, are people who make noise, not because they are convinced, it is because of the pocket they have seen that. If you listen to what NDEGWA NJIIRU, NDEGWA, if you hear what NDEGWA talked about Rigathi before Rigathi hired him, you would even have wondered, doesn't this fellow vet the people who do it? So in Central Province, he started off by picking people from, and he believed that he had deep pockets. So he said that all he needed was to plant people left, right, and center. The same thing Ruto had done. Ruto was being, there was the other Ruto, Isaac Ruto. Isaac Ruto was wanted to show that he was the Kalenjin Supreme. So he wanted to show that he's better than William Ruto. But William we just went and picked Laboso, and she floored him. Said, Laboso, you don't need even to rule. I'll give you a professor to deputize for you. What Ruto did in very many years is what this fellow did. Lastly, when I want to go back to the issue of this lawyer, is that he started off very well from Kirinyaga. Started off very well where MCAs were impeaching their governor. He's the one who was hired. He really played it well. But then he forgot one thing. He forgot the one thing that he says, that lawyers even say, lawyers say, Omulayakhina Musellal. Translated, although not directly, but translated is, that is what we were taught in economics is maximum profit of something, isn't it? Law of the maximum profit. You may expand your business so much that you find that the new branches that you start are eating into your profit. So law of minimum, something like that. So you are supposed to know when to walk away, like the gambler said. This gentleman, when he won a few cases in the Senate about impeachment, he thought that he was invisible, and that is, I'm sure, that is why he was hired by. He was hired by Rigathi Gachagua. And again, lastly, is that I had predicted, yes, I had predicted that this case, the shortest it will take is 6 months, 6 weeks, and I said the shortest it will take is 6 weeks, and the longest is 3 months. This one came like a shocker to me. Suddenly, is out of the power. But the problem with also Rigiji is that he didn't know when to call it quits. Actually, Rigiji was giving, what do we call, mixed signals. In 1 minute he's talking, he's saying that I'm urging my brother President Ruto, if I've wronged him, uh, let him found it in his heart to forgive me and allow me to work with him for the remaining 3 years, so that after finishing the 5 years, even if he takes another running mate or whatever, I don't. You see, such a thing, he would have just kept quiet and waited for Ruto to act that. But then the next moment, he he's talking the opposite, and he's talking things which are out of place. I've even heard from lawyers. There is a lawyer I've quoted, Honorable John McCarthy, is that they sometimes, not sometimes, in many cases, lawyers advise you something. They tell you, let us go this way, you insist on this way. So since he can't let out that money to go to another lawyer, because he knows another lawyer will take, what he does is he accepts now to follow what you're doing to do. Because him being a DO, and I'm sure he passed the administration officers exam, which included law. During his time, or during our time, DOs were magistrates. Yeah. If you go to areas which are distant, DOs were magistrates. So they were taught law, and they could jail somebody, especially in remote areas. So the way he was reasoning, at how can over 7 million people be make a decision, and only 280 something MPs overturned that. What he was saying makes sense. Yes, it is not good for over 7 million people to vote for you, but that is what the constitution says. Like today, if I'm using the word if India Foxtrot, if today we pass a judgment and say that half of the county governors, if they want the president out, they'll vote him. If it is in the constitution, so you just need to talk to a few governors here and there. And then the other thing that I think NDEGWA did not advise Gachagua well, or Gachagua was advised, but you see, maybe, we have some people who advise their advisors on how to advise them. Yes, you heard me properly. You advise your advisor on how to advise you. And then your advisor advises you on what you have advised him to advise you. There are some things that they are just straightforward for a person who was a Dio. But then he was going on and on and on. He was reasoning that he was placing impeachment at the same level as a judicial proceeding. And you can see, I always give the example of President Clinton, Bill Clinton. President Bill Clinton was as guilty as hell, but he had more senators on his side. That is impeachment. It is a quasi legal process, but it is more political than legal. I don't see him winning the case. First of all, after Kindiki has been sworn in, it is quite possible that he may not pursue the cases with the valor that he was pursuing. But even if he pursues, I don't see him winning. But if he wins, what will happen is that, first of all, he'll be cleared. Because right now he cannot contest for any elective seat, and he cannot be appointed for any appointive seat. That's gone. I hear some people saying that 10 years. I don't know where they're reading 10 years. But what I know is that the constitution and the law is silent on the period. I think it is forever. So modo wa muciĩ wakorwo wĩ hakuhĩ na Kĩriko primary school hau Kaiyabare, kwĩna village ya Baruya hau, tũgacemania kũu. Thank you.